Hello, and welcome to the Electrostatic Discharge Training Module. In this module, you will learn about electrostatic discharge and how it affects everyday production. You will learn what ESD is, how it happens, and the do's and don'ts of ESD prevention. Before we look at how ESD is caused, let's review the problem. Electrostatic discharge, or ESD for short, is the sudden transfer or discharge of electricity from one object to another. 2000 volts is the lowest level of ESD that most people can feel, but static under 20 volts can be enough to damage or destroy some of the sensitive electronics we handle every day here at MAGNA ESD. In fact, some of the parts can be damaged by as little as 1.5 volts. In the beginning, everyone is taught the correct procedures and techniques for effective ESD control, but after a while, we get comfortable with our jobs and begin to do tasks automatically. This autopilot mode allows us to develop bad habits or shortcuts, and eventually these bad habits and shortcuts turn into routine. Sometimes we might not even know we're doing anything wrong. That's because ESD is an invisible problem. It's important to realize that people are the biggest cause of ESD. Our bodies are static magnets, constantly picking up electrons and storing them on our skin, hair, and clothes. 7 ways ESD can happen are through the lack of personal grounding, through static producing clothing, through static producing activities, through the use of static producing materials, through non-ESD safe work areas, through improper handling, and through improper storage and transport. Any one of these bad habits can ultimately cause an entire system to fail. In today's world, technology can prevent crashes and save lives. Here at MAGNA ESD, we make parts that contribute to newer technologies such as adaptive cruise control, automatic braking, and lane change warnings. One ESD bad habit can lead to a faulty part, which could ultimately lead to an accident down the road. Electrostatic discharge is a serious problem electronics manufacturers face every day. In this module, we will explain the do's and don'ts of each of the 7 main causes of ESD. ESD cause number 1, lack of personal grounding. Don't pick up an ESD sensitive device without being properly grounded. Always make sure you are wearing your proper grounding equipment and test it frequently. Remember, permanent employees must wear ESD shoes unless a doctor's note is provided to HR. Don't forget to put your shoe grounders on after coming back from a break. Always make sure you stop and put on your shoe straps and test them at the door before entering. When testing shoe straps, don't leave the grounding string out. Instead, tuck it inside your sock. The moisture from your sock aids in completion of the circuit. When seated, don't forget to plug in your wrist strap. Always make sure your wrist strap is plugged in and test it regularly. When testing a wrist strap, make sure to shake your wrist to test for intermittent failures. Remember to test your wrist strap at the door when you test your ESD shoes or shoe straps as well. ESD cause number 2, static producing clothing. Don't wear clothing made from wool or synthetic materials. Instead, wear cotton, which is ESD safe. Don't enter an ESD area without the proper equipment. Make sure you have a conductive smock, shoe grounders, safety goggles or glasses, and a hat or hairnet and a beard net before coming into an ESD area. Conductive smocks work to harmlessly drain charges to ground and away from any sensitive electronics. Don't leave your smock unbuttoned. Button it all the way up and don't roll your sleeves up either. Keep them down and avoid exposing your clothing underneath the smock. ESD cause number 3, static producing activities. Don't raise and lower your feet when seated. Try to keep your feet on the ground as much as possible. Try not to fidget with handheld items or play with tables. Don't fix your hair or clothing. Lastly, minimize movement to minimize the potential for an ESD event to occur. ESD cause number 4, static producing materials. Don't bring an ESD sensitive device close to plastic materials such as safety glasses. Instead, keep them away in a safe place. Don't clutter your work area with common office and desk items. Instead, maintain a clear workspace and make sure to use caution if you have to use static producing materials. If static producing materials are needed for your job, air ionizers blow ionized air into the workspace, neutralizing the charge. ESD cause number 5, non-ESD safe work areas. Don't transport ESD sensitive items more than necessary, and don't walk around with unprotected assemblies. Don't handle ESD-sensitive items outside of an ESD-safe area. Instead, be sure to only handle ESD-sensitive items in a work area consisting of a grounded static dissipative work surface and a static dissipative floor. Static dissipative surfaces are conductive, but they conduct electricity slowly so they don't damage sensitive components. ESD cause number 6. Improper handling. Don't slide components across a work surface. Instead, pick them up, move them, and set them down. Always handle the body of a component, and don't handle the leads. Always set components down on their leads to aid conductivity between the component and the grounded surface. Never handle boards by the center. Always wear gloves and handle the boards by the skeletons or outer edges. ESD cause number 7. Improper storage and transport. Don't transport ESD-sensitive items by hand, and always find an ESD-approved cart with a grounding chain to push. Always put ESD-sensitive items into protective totes or static shielding bags, or sometimes both. When transporting a buffer, always grab it with 2 hands from the sides and put the buffer on an ESD cart to transport. When putting boards into storage partitions, do not use the exterior slots. They're not designed to protect the board. Do not repackage ESD-sensitive items in other boxes or bags. Always keep them in their original packaging until used. Always reseal opened packages with a humidity indicator and a desiccant. Whether you are experienced and need to break these old habits, or new and need to prevent yourself from forming these habits, you can always work towards the MAGNA standard of integrity by avoiding these 7 bad habits. ESD control works most effectively when you assume that all components and assemblies you handle are ESD sensitive, even when they're not. ESD-sensitive items should be properly labeled, but occasionally someone forgets. That's why it's important to get in the habit of performing all activities with ESD awareness, using safe practices. The most important thing you can learn from this module is that we are the most important part of the equation. ESD is usually caused by people, and if we can eliminate our bad habits, we'll go a long way in creating quality products and developing new technology.